Hey, what's up everybody? Bdf 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so no basketball content for me right now. I figured I'd make a therapy session because there's really nothing being said. I haven't checked any highlights on the summer league for the day, but decided to go see mom today. Went to her grave today. Took me like 3.5 hours to get there because I stopped and got some stuff from the downtown Target, as I usually do, and then proceeded to go on. Could have did all of that on the way back, but I figured on the way back I probably wouldn't feel like it, so I was right. But it made my backpack fairly heavy walking around trying to get to the grave site and all of that and getting back, but it's all good. I feel good. Man, it's a lot going on. I don't even know where to start. I think looking at some stuff that happened on the train today. It was a man who got on the train and he wanted this other individual to move his bag so he could bring his 3 toddler kids on with their little car thingy that he had, like a little it's like a toy tow thing that's like made into a car, and he almost got into it with an elderly Spanish dude, a black dude from neighborhood. He was definitely from neighborhood. He made sure that everybody knew. And my thing was, I was just trying to motion to him without really making too much energy of it. Like, to pick your battles, be cool, because you got 3 kids no older than 4, all of them, and they watching you. You're sitting there holding a beer in his hand. You know what I'm saying? And you like 5'3", all of 140 pounds. I'm like, brother, chill out, man. You know what I mean? And you got to pick your battles. I understand people are soldiers out here. Sometimes people, circumstances, they care. Some of them care that they have their kids with them. Others don't. But you just got to choose your battles wisely, man. I've seen that type of energy several times. And people like that end up getting killed out here. Like, seriously. If I'm just being completely honest with you. He ended up apologizing to the man, but the man wouldn't accept his apology, so he got offended again, almost fought him again. I'm like, Jesus. Had beer in your hand, got 3 babies, you blued up from the shoes up. It's just like, yo, bro, you are doing more than you should, man. More than you should. I don't think brothers no older than 26, 27, but it's just like you got too much going on, man. And I just wonder how long a person like that gonna be able to move the way he's moving before he either has to change his life or lose his life. That's what came to mind, man. So I'm from the West. It's not the first time I've seen stuff like that. It ain't gonna be the last. But you know, at the end of the day, as soon as he was able to like get calmed down, he ended up running into one of his friends who was also kind of shaking their head at his energy, because it's like, bro, you doing too much. Like, how you got the babies and the beer? Like, it's an open container. Like, you asking for trouble. But you know, he was able to calm down, and his kids' energy it's like they were in a different world. They weren't even thinking about what their daddy was doing. But that was one thing. What else was going on, man? It's a situation in Khan Yunis, Gaza. From what I understand, Wizard Basan one of the ladies that I follow, who's been suffering some of the ills of this the entire time. She's been trying to let us know, and I've mentioned her on this channel several times. First thing I saw when I got up this morning, the very first thing I saw was her post saying that 3,000 potentially people were slaughtered last night in Khan Yunis. They were just bombing people in tents, a place that, once again, as we've said many times, that they've done many times, a place that they said was safe for these people to be at. They told these people to go there so that they could be out of harm's way, only to bomb them in their tents, like a homeless encampment with thousands of people. She said that it was close, somewhere between 300 and 3,000 people. And it's crazy because these are the same bombs that your president said that he was going to provide Israel with. Ton bombs, big 3-ton bombs or whatever. He said he was going to give them to Israel, and the day they get them, as soon as they receive them, of course, like they always do with all of their weapons, they drop it on innocent people in the name of slaughtering them. And I think that's something that we should all know, that it's day 277 of this genocide, and one of the worst, darkest, most sinister slaughterings happened this morning. So while y'all sitting up here saying it's cool to support Israel, and some of y'all just aligned because y'all politics with allowing Israel to defeat its enemies, when you know and I know that that is not real. That's a false narrative that they put out there so that they can always back themselves legally into these situations. It's not even about them actually believing the narrative. It's just that they cover their backside with the rhetoric. That's really all it is. That's the game. As long as I'm saying that I'm inside the lines of what you will accept and what is considered legal, I can literally do whatever I want, is the attitude of these people. So they always have the ability to stand behind the narrative that they're destroying Hamas, when in actuality, everything that they say Hamas is what they actually are. It's rather devastating when you really look at it. And the Hannibal narrative is something, what they call it, the Hannibal Directive. That's something that y'all should know about. Hannibal Directive is them basically saying that in the presence of their own people becoming prisoners, they would kill their prisoners. Instead, kill their own people rather than allow them to go to the hands of the enemy. The Hannibal Directive. It's Israel killing Israelis. Like, their whole moral compass is demonic and flipped on its axis. Even the narrative displays their indecency. The thing that they give you as a lie to believe so that you won't actually hold them accountable for what they're doing still makes them, exposes them for as awful and evil as they are. It's like even the lie shows how bankrupt they are mentally. Like, the lie they came up with for us to believe makes them look bad, and they're so bankrupt in understanding that they put forth this lie. Like, we have a right to kill all the enemy's big babies because they're going to turn out to be monsters in the end. So you're slaughtering children. Yes, because we don't want them to kill us, and we're not going to allow them to vote. This man was sitting up here saying some lies about how the Palestinian people are free to do 3 things. Stay and fight, and he's going to annihilate them all. Leave and find another country, or stay there if they like, but they won't be able to vote for an entire generation. And what's the rhetoric behind not allowing them to vote for an entire generation? It's because the entire generation of their people wants to kill Jews. And that's what he said. That's what they're legally telling each other. Like, yo, we're not going to let these people vote for an entire generation because their entire people have been raised to kill Jews. Like, to blanket an entire people in thinking that way, it's assuming that has any merit mathematically, shows just how bankrupt they are in thinking that would be acceptable to the rest of us. Let alone it not being the truth. Because everywhere those people who decided to stay have gone, they've been bombed where they land. They bomb them and then tell them to move on foot. Bomb them and then tell them to move on foot. And everywhere they find themselves able to tent, they bomb them. They send leaflets from the sky telling them where they can go to be safe. When they get to those places, they bomb them there. They're bombing schools, hospitals, homeless encampments. They have decimated apartment buildings and farmland. Like, this is, they've done enough, man. I just want to say that Israel and its Zionist counterparts have done enough, man. You've done enough. And that's what I want to say to you. From the bottom of my heart, the words that I truly have for you at this point is you have done enough. You have truly displayed yourself to be the worst people of our time. You've displayed yourself to have all the power over our government and many governments abroad. And still, there is no end to your paranoia and your bloodthirst for the most innocent, praying people on the planet. People who have done nothing but praise God and help each other through the hell that you put them through. You have tried everything you can to break these people's spirit and to break the spirit of those who are rooting for them to succeed, rooting for them to survive. You have done everything you can to make all of us, in watching them suffer, question the God that we believe in, or question if there is a God at all if we don't. You've done enough. You've done everything you can to break the spirit of everybody in Palestine territory. It's Palestinian territory. In that place, you have done everything you can to make people of faith say, if there is a God, where is he right now? That was your goal, in my humble opinion, more so than anything else. Your goal was to take those who believe in God, and in the presence of what you're doing to these people, make them question their belief in God. This is what you are doing. You've done enough. And so this is what I'm saying right now, man. I've been praying prayers because, see, fortunately enough for myself, I have a personal relationship with a living God who's already proven himself in many ways that he's real and that he exists in my life, that there's favor in my life and wrath if I were to choose to turn against it. Things that have been proven to me, independent of things that have anything to do with money, power, or any of that stuff. Just in my own personal life, when I did certain things I shouldn't have done, things happened thereafter. When I prayed certain prayers asking for things to make sense to me, things began to make sense in different ways. To the point where this morning, I was thinking about something at random, walking down the street, and the word Van Nuys came to my mind, and I looked to the right of me and I saw the words Van Nuys written on some paper. Like, this is the type of stuff that the Lord has done to help me understand that there ain't really much anybody can do to break that for which the bond is between me and him. I don't need a religion. I don't need another day in the life to know that the God they fighting with, or that they are masquerading as if he doesn't exist, is a real entity. That's the problem with Zionists. They genuinely believe that God does not exist, but understand that the rest of us either are on the fence or believe, so their intention is to use him as a means of doing all of the evil things they want to do, while simultaneously trying to convince all of us that he doesn't exist, but that of the power on this earth is them, and that we need to yield to their power because they have their teeth sunk in everything, and that they are intentional on annihilating those people, and that they can do the same thing to us if they were to choose to. And there's nothing we can do about it. See, the problem with them is, in doing all of that, they've forgotten one simple truth, that they are not the first people to do this. The last ones who did this failed. See, there's stories about this type of thing in every book of modern religion, of a people who tried to pretend they were God or use God as a means of doing things that God has told them clearly not to do. We've seen this before, and do you know what happens to those people? Very, very, very strong calamity falls upon their heads and disgrace thereafter. You write books about people like them. So what I'm telling you is this: Israel has done enough. America's government and the people behind absent-minded Joe have done enough. Prayers have been prayed from many directions, and these people still stand against the wisdom that is presented to us in so many of these books that we read, as the people who will not change their ways no matter what. The essence of what Sodom and Gomorrah was truly about when the Lord wiped those two places away and told people never turn their head back to look back at the calamity that fall upon that place, because he was going to turn them into stone. These are the type of things that people did to force God to do that to them. It's the stuff that Israel and the Zionists are doing. It's the very thing that made the Lord consider destroying the earth entirely. Now, I tell you, they war with goodness because they want the Lord to be so angry that he would destroy the earth. They want us to be so without belief in God, that we will turn against God entirely just like them. They want us to believe that they are the almighty and all-powerful to such an extent that we will stop believing in God and start believing in them. That is exactly what is happening right there. And you know what comes of that? Nothing good. Nothing good for those who follow that. Nothing good for the people who do it. He told us not to harm his little ones. These people slaughter children for fun and excuse it. He tells us to keep fair balance. These people cheat people repeatedly in many different ways, in ways you can't even put into this video. All of the things that God told us not to do as human beings, Israel's engaging in. Multiple areas. Taking advantage of the poor, hurting people for fun, pinning people against one another, painting people out to be something they're not. All of the different evils, they embody every last one of them. All of them. You name it, they embody it. At some point in time, we are going to start seeing the natural reaction to that behavior. They act as if they got God locked away somewhere in a basement. That's how they act. But I'm here to tell you, man. I'm here to tell you the absolute truth. The same thing I've been telling you for as long as I've been in this specific situation. God is real. He is real. I don't know which religion you're going to find him in. I don't have that answer for you. My gut tells me it's a million different ways to get to him. My gut tells me that religion's probably right. The one you're following, if you're trying to follow a compassionate God that created all of us, you're probably on the right track one way or another. Because Lord knows, half the people who are doing this are claiming all of the different religions. You got Christians who are involved in this Zionistic movement. You got Jewish people who are involved in this, obviously, as they hide behind the Jewish identity. You got people who are Muslim who are aligning with them in this situation. As I tell you, it don't matter your religion. It's the same enemy. So I'd imagine if you stand for the right things, it really don't matter which religion you follow. The living God will find you and align you with his protection over that for which is going to be done with, however it's done with, for the way that the people who are running this earth are choosing to use their power. Slaughtering thousands of praying people who don't have anything, who can't harm them, people they've been keeping under their thumb for 75 years are the people that they're slaughtering in this situation. They've chosen the most harmless people. They've painted them out to be the worst of human beings and then proceeded to do the worst of things to them. Israel, you are forever disgraced. Zionist is always going to be a bad word. We can tie every last thing that this world has gone through over the last probably 200 years to you and your worship of self and your control over the money as you push forth your energy onto the earth, wiping away so much good. So much good. Torturing people and putting them in positions to not have their own identity anymore. It's hiding behind a faith. Removing Christ from everything. Waging war against Muslim people. Victimizing children in a plethora of ways. Hurting your own people. Systematically controlling different circumstances that most don't even know you control but are affected by. Trying to back all of us into a godless, sinful, materialistic world for you to continue to control and benefit off of for generations to come. It will come to an end. Many are afraid to speak on the truth, but I'm more so afraid of what it looks like when I don't. When I know of a living God, and he already showed me how he feels about the evil that I do. He already showed me. I'm living in the reality of what it is when I don't do what I'm supposed to do. In alignment with the timing that I've been in the situation, this genocide has been taking place. So I know there's a connection between what my mind sees and the alignment of what it is that's going on in that situation. And so I'm telling you, many of y'all didn't speak up when you knew you should have. Many of y'all aligned with these people because they have you under contract in your various industries. Many of y'all feared what they could do more so than what you feared what God is going to do. Many of y'all had your lives as the forefront of what mattered as opposed to your eternal soul. And you let people suffer because you decided not to say anything. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. Many of y'all put the dollar and your fear and your gluttony and your greed and your guilt over the ability to be a solution to the circumstances we've described. And you're going to fall. And you're going to fall hard. Roped up in there with them who did this to these people, who've done this to all of us. Many of y'all know God just as well as I do, but are afraid of losing your wealth, afraid of losing your opportunities, afraid of being exiled by your friends, afraid of being exiled by your family members, afraid of looking weird to people that you really respect. You are going to fall. Because children have suffered, we all have seen it, and it should have been all of us speaking out on it. It should have been all of us saying, yo, this is weird, this should not be happening. And most of us stayed quiet. Most of us were fearful of whatever other than the unselfishness necessary to save the lives of people who we could have saved if we would have pulled up together and stuck up for them. Our generation is now cursed, ladies and gentlemen. We are cursed because of this. Whatever comes of us, it probably ain't going to be no kind of good. Did you not see the warning? Did you not see the warning? When COVID hit us, did you not get it? It was a warning. And we did not heed it. And we turned a blind eye to these people suffering in the name of the false God that is Israel. And now we're going to see what comes of it. I told y'all, man. I told y'all I should have been using y'all voices. I told y'all. Now, I'm afraid for most of us, it may be too late. Because Israel's definitely gone too far. At this point, I feel like we're in the quiet before the storm. Y'all shouldn't have worshipped them people, bro. Y'all shouldn't have turned a blind eye to the evil that they do for the sake of the power they had. Y'all shouldn't have did that, man. Y'all should have looked at that weird stuff that was going on to those people and those kids. You should have said something. Y'all should have said something, man. Every last one of you celebrities, every last one of you doctors, lawyers, all of y'all who made the environment okay for this to stay in place, in this dystopian nightmare that we in, where we act like we don't see what Israel's doing, y'all should have said something. Y'all should have been unselfish enough and brave enough to stand up against the bully that is Israel. You should have did that. A lot of y'all gonna get on board, but the 500,000 people probably been wiped out already. It's too late. Now y'all gotta suffer that on y'all heads. Their blood is on y'all hands who did not speak up. You politicians, you officials, you celebrities, you cater to their suffering. And if the God I serve wants to forgive you, God bless you. But I get the feeling that we are not in a space where we're going to be forgiven for that. It's not him telling me this. It's just my feeling. Too much has happened now. Too much has happened. Many of us could have said something we didn't. And I roped myself into that even though I know I've been speaking. But I won't be able to be exempt from what will come, because many of the people I love very much were quiet too. So if they suffer, I suffer with them. But you're going to remember this. Genocide took place. And if you follow my channel, I've been talking about it ever since I found out about it. October 7th was not the beginning of this nightmare. It started in 1948. 1948. My mother was born in 46. She was 2 years old when Israel was created. When the occupied Palestine land was taken by the powers that be. She was 2. She is gone now. I just came from her grave. Her whole life and more. These people have tortured the Palestinian people. And they've roped in with their money, surrounding governments through power and greed and guilt. They've been able to find compliance in those who were supposed to do something about it. Those who had the power to stop them. They bought them people off. They used the sin, natural human sin and natural human guilt and natural human doubt for a living God to control the environment and control the people who were put in place, or in a position rather, to stop it. And I'm here to tell each and every one of you, Israel is intent on wiping out all of Palestine. They want to kill all of those people. That's what you need to know. That there is no safe place for them. That there is no friend with Israeli blood that they will spare in the end. DJ Khaled, they're going to kill all of y'all if somebody doesn't stop it. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? None of y'all, even the ones who are complicit, they are going to kill you, friend. Because they're intent on wiping out the son of Amalek. And that is exactly who they've deemed you to be. You can't stand behind their lines and be free. You can't get enough money. They're going to target you eventually. They don't want any more Palestinian people to walk the earth ever again. This is what the Zionists in Israel is on. And they're not going to waver. They need to be stopped by force. And that is the reality of the circumstance. And it will be the reality of the circumstance until each and every one of us come around to understanding that and doing something about it. As long as you're paying into their businesses, as long as you're continuing to be complicit by your silence, they are going to murder more people. It is that simple. You have normalized it by being quiet. You have normalized it by continuing to buy into their Starbucks, into their various companies. You have normalized the suffering of these people, man. And like I said, I just came from my mother's grave. Before they put me in a tomb, I'm going to use the time that I have to tell the truth about what it is I've learned in this situation. To the few people who will listen to me. Because when my life is over and death is certain for all of us, God is going to want to know, did you stand up for them people, or did you sit back and be complicit like everybody else? Did you do something about it with the little power that you had and the faith that you knew was real? The relationship with me that you had, did you use that to power you to do the right thing? While many people are trying to tell the truth about the Lord, are they actually doing what the Lord wants them to do in these times? Many of people get up here and tell you Jesus is real, but then turn around and adhere to Israel. I'm telling you that that's not what he wants you just to do. When you get the relationship with Christ, then you got to stand up against the powers that be that ultimately want to be the Antichrist. It is exactly the purpose of having a relationship with God. It ain't just to exalt yourself and get to heaven. It's to do something in the times where it's necessary. But many people are afraid to, because money rules the earth, but it don't. You just can't see what comes next. And it's your faith that's supposed to allow you to have that in your heart when you move. Everything was fine before 2020, and then COVID hit, and then we needed to wear masks. Did you see that coming? No. But that you now know that it happened tells you how to protect yourself from something that would take place again. Sometimes it's not going to be foresight that allows you the understanding that things need to be done before it happens. You need the faith that it's in place beforehand. We know what Israel is about. So now that the number's at 500 grand, when it gets to 1 million, we will have already known what we should have known, unlike in the COVID situation. We already know we need to boycott. We already know we need to stop paying these people, paying into their nonsense. We already know we need to vote out these politicians. We already know we need to spread the word with our voices. We already know we need to normalize the conversation about this in places where the conversation isn't at. We know this. We already know this. We don't need the calendar to fold a certain way or for the number to get to a certain spot for us to understand what these people are about. They've shown us 277 days and they showed us what they're about. 277 days we've been adhering to their nonsense as a people, paying into their companies. Starbucks, the Star of David, Bucks, you're paying into it. Think about it. This stuff ain't no accident. They're funding their intentions, and those intentions aren't just to be in power. And the intentions are to annihilate a people as an example that they could do the same to the rest of us, as I've already said. And it's your responsibility, Jewish person, Muslim person, atheist, Christian person. There's no discrimination in regards to your responsibility in these times. You are complicit to genocide at this point if you're not speaking out. You're complicit to genocide at this point if you're still paying into their companies. You're complicit. Whether you believe in God or not, they using that for which is universally understood as a belief in God to weaponize themselves against whatever, however, by way of example, as they torture these people. So that you would have instilled fear in yourself for them and their nonsense. So I refuse. When I can get hit by a car at any moment, I could die of anything. I ain't afraid of them. I could die of COVID. I ain't afraid of them. As I told y'all, what I'm afraid of is what it looks like when I don't use my mind and my voice to speak against them. That's what I'm afraid of falling to the hell that most of y'all are gonna burn in for doing that. And even most importantly, forget me and my soul and all of that. What happens to these people? What happens to them? So many times we think about ourselves like, oh, what's going to happen to me if I don't do what's right? No, what happens to them? It's your selfishness that is ultimately what's used against these people. Because you're thinking about yourself and what you can lose first. You're thinking about your comfort and what's going on around you and what hurts your feelings and your people being hurt. This is why. Trying to adhere to your own selfish desires. This is why they're in control and able to do all of this. It's because we've been this way for so damn long. Think about me. I'm thinking about me. I'm thinking about my soul. Even when we do something right, we're thinking about our own damn comfort in the afterlife. What happens to me if I'm a burn? I don't want to. I. And it's that selfishness that they catered everything that they do toward funding themselves off of that selfishness. I need this. I crave that. They put themselves in a position to have a dollar in a hand in every situation that ultimately you need. I need this. I gotta have this. I'm going after mine. I'm gonna get this. And they pocketing the money and sending it to different places so that they can further fund the nonsense that they own. At some point in time, we just got to care about somebody else. Even if I burn for this, at least a child doesn't have to have a limb missing. You understand what I'm saying? Even if I lose my life, at least a child doesn't have to have their head missing. Parents don't have to cry over their babies and shit. Like, come on, man. And the first thing y'all want when y'all suffering is somebody to think like this. Oh, what about you? What about you? Where's the help? Who's going to risk their life to save mine? But when you going to risk your life to save others? When you gonna step up out of your comfort zone so that somebody else can have an opportunity of not suffering? Since your comfort zone is enabled by those who push forth that suffering onto those people. Enough. Western selfishness is the bane of this world, man. And Israel is able to benefit off of all of it. Normalize talking that way. Instead of normalizing the suffering of these people, man. At some point in time, we got to stop thinking about ourselves. We got to start thinking about what we're going to lose. We got to stop thinking about the mighty human God that they happen to be in 2024. None of that is real, man. None of that is real. That's not real. What's actually real is the suffering that they put in the Palestinian people through, the suffering that they put in your people through, the Congolese people through, the Sudanese people through. They had a hand in all of that. Cop City, that's us. That's America. They got their hands all in our government and using those hands to harm others so that they can benefit and display, again, an example that you should fear them. That everybody should adhere to them. That future governments should pay into their nonsense and adhere to whatever they choose. We are pushing forth the relay that the rest of eternity, as long as the earth is spinning, should be owned by them. That it's fine if they want to annihilate a people. It's fine if they want to wake up one day and suddenly decide that they biblically are entitled to your land or your house. That everybody is below reproach but them. Your kids are going to suffer worse. This is a test run for these people. They're going to keep doing this. You think it stops with the Palestinians, bro? They're going to be coming into your house next. It may not be yours, but your grandkids, great-grandkids, you let them get away with this any further. And I promise you, they ain't going to stop there. Human greed. It's what powers this. What you think a person's going to take an inch and that's it? No, man takes a mile when you offer an inch. You know that. You let these Z's continue doing this, and they're going to bring it to your doorstep, some way, shape, or form. You're going to end up worshiping these people and all different types of weird stuff, turning over your kids to them, all different types of weird stuff. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. There's no end to the gluttony of evil, man. None. While y'all fear what they can do to you right now, the world you in, it's only going to get worse if you allow these people to think that there's no resistance to the evil that they do. No different than allowing a child to think he can get away with anything he wants to do or she wants to do. We have got to stop spoiling these people. So God's honest truth. Allowing them to think that they truly are above everybody else because of what they own when they cheated their way to that in the first place. I do not serve money. Money is not my God. It was the words that came out of my mouth when I was leaving my mother's grave. I do not serve money because at any given point, cancer can inhabit my body and take me out of here. Or many other different things that could take me out. And all the money I would have gained, I wouldn't spend none of it. It doesn't end when you make it. It doesn't end when you're having a wonderful moment in luxury, fam. There's still people suffering. There's still things to answer for. There's still things that happen from what it is that you neglect. And the very suffering, whatever sufferings you've gone through, you can best believe that it's enabled by somebody else being just as selfish as you are right now. Whatever discomfort you've ever gone through could have had something done about it if somebody else would have been as unselfish as I'm trying to ask you to be. All of us had something happen to us if we're not in a position to be a Z. Everybody had some land stole from them or a pension taken from them or something. Something. And wouldn't you know it, if somebody would have raised enough hell about it, maybe it wouldn't have happened. Just maybe. Think about that when you're considering your options. Think about that when you're being quiet and you know damn well at this point you shouldn't be quiet. Even if you haven't seen the images I've seen, you should have seen someone like me telling you what they've seen. in regards to this genocide, man, this is not the time to be dystopian and pretend like this is not happening, man. This is not the time to sell your soul. This is not the time to pretend that your soul don't exist, or be the most selfish of all of us and let this just continue to be. This is not time for that. You are not alive to view that. That is not what you're here for. It's not here to just make a little heaven for yourself, man. That's what the Zionists about. They don't care about heaven or hell. That's the secret to what they do. It's all about making as much good for themselves while they're alive as possible, and relaying the happiness and the glory of the suffering to the next Z. That's all it's about. If they can't see heaven, they're gonna make heaven on earth for the next ones. And that's what the journey is for those people. There is no heaven or hell for them. That's something we adhere to. That's something we worry about. They worried about living, and that's it. So if they can rig the game against you, that's a devilish deed that they're willing to do. Because at the end of the day, it's all about what's going on in between the lines of life. You don't have a connection with God. That's the point. There's no connection there. Atheists, religious extremists. It's all a show, man. They don't believe in nothing but their ability to do what it is that we will not. They believe in their ability to be the worst, the strongest, the toughest, the lowest. While we're sitting up here adhering to these things for fear of this and that, they are doing the things you are unwilling to do to get the things that they want to control you with. Then they hold you accountable for hurting them as if they've never hurt you at all, as if they never did any of these things at all. How dare you hold us accountable? We are the Almighty, we're the chosen. You're not the chosen, you're just the lowest. You're willing to steep to levels that none of us ever would. Even the worst of us wouldn't steep to the levels you are willing to, for fear of an everlasting hell for which you don't believe in. Y'all want to know the truth? That's the truth. So that needed to be said, man. And I really don't care who hears me say this. I don't care what comes to me for saying this, because I understand that I've made myself proud for speaking on things that y'all refuse to. And I've seen enough suffering with my own eyes, heard enough wailing from mamas crying and all of that to understand that this is not the time for me to be worried about how weird I look for having a conversation the rest of y'all refuse to have. I felt the pain of the father who was crying holding his child dead. I saw the sister who was crying holding her baby brother because half her family's been annihilated and that's all who's left. And she's like 7 years old. He's 2. I've seen these images. I'm not waiting for you to normalize whether it's okay for me to be outraged by that. I'm not waiting for y'all to look at me and say, yo, is it okay to speak? Yeah, no, it's fine. It really is. If you've seen what I've seen this time, it really is. So that's what I gotta say, man. Free Palestine. Free everybody from the reign and the tyranny of Zionist supremacy. Free all of us from this. Literally, man. Ain't nobody ain't under their thumb in this point. Even their own people under their thumb. By way of what they're willing to do to their own in the name of what it is they're trying to do. Hannibal Directive. We know what they're doing. Ain't nobody free. They're not even free themselves. It's the point. So that's what I'm trying to tell everybody, man. Wisen up, wake up, understand that there are some of us who really do have a connection to God, so there ain't nothing they can do that's going to break that connection or make us feel like he doesn't exist. He didn't already prove to me he exists. I'm not waiting for something to be reproven that's already been proven to me. This is why I have the confidence to speak as I do, because I already know, I know him. I'm not waiting for a book to tell me and next person to tell me, none of that. I already know him. So when I say that I'm coming to you with everlasting confidence that this is something I should be doing, that's it. That's all there is to it. I can't fear no punishment from no man or no circumstance or no nothing. More so than that for which I should fear from that of whom has already proven himself to not be playing with me. And that's key. So I'm here to be a voice for what it is that I believe he wants me to use my voice for. Not to say I'm speaking for the Lord, because that's too much, but to say that he has powered me to say every last word I've said for the last 45 minutes. Israel has done enough. They've done enough, man. Now, whatever happens after this, it's on them and it's on all of us who allowed them to continue to do it. That's it. Bdf 44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.